All right, guys, what is up? Welcome, welcome. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go to the next level with their brand. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and of course, I have with me the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. All right, Mr. Bobby Stealth. Guys, listen, today we're going to get into a phenomenal show for you today. We're going to go back to the business fundamentals. We're going to connect the branding, we're going to connect the marketing, we're going to connect the sales. We're going to give you a system, the exact system that you need to go to the next level with your brand. If you are tuned in live, then put some flames in the chat and also let us know where you're listening in from. Bobby, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing well, Junior. I'm doing absolutely phenomenal, to be honest. I was switching my routine. So
Yeah.
I'm going back to cardio in the morning, lifting in
Yep.
the evening. Lifting in the evening. So we work out twice a day. And that's something that gets me going. Gets me going because I get my sweat early on instead of my pump. And if I get the sweat early, then I'm feeling really good throughout the day, and then I get that pump in the evening, so I go to sleep feeling nice and swole. So it's a really good it's a good combination. So I'm excited this morning. Got that bike ride in.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing, Bobby. I did the bike ride today. I did
Yeah.
close to an hour today. I really got that good sweat in, so I'm feeling absolutely amazing, energetic. Today's Friday, by the way. Today's Friday. It's interesting how people say, "Thank God it's Friday." Listen, you know what? Somebody asked me just yesterday. They told me, "Well, Monday's a holiday, and are you gonna? Can you talk to me on a Monday?" I said, "Listen to me. Listen, like I work every single day. I work Monday to Sunday. Of course, I have fun. I take breaks. I go out. I do a lot of fun things. But listen, when you're on the journey, when you're on the grind, bro, money doesn't sleep. So I'm at it every single day, even on the holiday. Okay, so guys, we're about to get into it. Bobby, I'm gonna not even go to the first break. Let's just get right into it. I feel like we have so much that we need to talk about. Guys, of course, if you have any questions, go ahead and put that in the chat. Shout out to Dr. Michelle, Tia, and Bradley. Where should we get started today, Mr. Jackson?
I think we should get started with why get into business anyway. See, I
Okay.
was having a conversation with a lot of entrepreneurs, and the the God honest truth, like what I've noticed is that most people get into business because they hate their job.
Hmm.
They get into business because they hate their job. And I need you all to know that I can't tell you why you should get into business or why you shouldn't, but I can definitely tell you if you're doing it to run away from the work that you hate, you're just running into some work that you're not going to like. Like there's going to be parts of your business that you're not going to like. And here's the thing, you can't blame your boss now because you're the boss. So now you're doing work that you don't like and you're working for somebody that you can't stand, which is yourself, because you just don't know what you don't know and you're trying to figure it out. So I think that'd be a great place to start is like, why do we start businesses in the first place and what makes sense? Because if you have a 9 to 5 job, and again, guys, we are all about the freedom run, but most people start a business, in my experience, with the bling in mind instead of with the end in mind. So if you start with the bling in mind, you're like, whoo, how can I get to $1 million? Whoo, how can I buy that new house? Whoo, how can I, like you're trying to get to the bling, you're trying to get to the money, but the money for the purpose of luxurious spending. And if that's the objective of your business, you're rarely going to have enough capital to ever build a business because you're spending the money for things that don't make sense when you're building a business. So we can start there, Junior, and just unpack some things. So, why did you start your business? And then I'll let people know why I started my business, and then we can talk a little bit about the technicalities of what's smart and what's probably not so smart.
Man, listen, that is a phenomenal, phenomenal place to start, Bobby. I could like the reason why I started my business. I could give you so many reasons why I started my business, but I'll tell you a few stories. So the whole thing about like the day that I can tell you the day that I literally decided to get into business. I remember the exact day. And I'll tell you why. And I've told this story before. Okay, but before I even like tell that story, let me just give you a few other scenarios. So before I got into business, I was in the HVAC industry. HVAC, for those of you who don't know, means heating, ventilation, air conditioning. So if you have a heater at your home, if you have a refrigerator at your home, which you all do, if you have an AC at your home, that's what I did. And I went literally all around the island. Some days I used to travel around the whole island in one day, fixing refrigerators, fixing air conditioning, stuff like that. Bro, I've been in so many crazy scenarios. I've been on ladders. I can remember once, Bobby, I got shocked. I got zapped. If you've ever been zapped before, put a number one in the chat. I was on top of a ladder, okay, and I was fixing an air conditioner, and I could swear I remember putting the thing off. Well, let me tell you something. This can be so life threatening. I remember cutting a wire. I pull out a wire, okay, and I cut the wire. Bro, the only thing I heard, you ever see those cartoons when like like the big light flashes and everything stops? Man, the pliers flew from my hand. I couldn't move. I could hear everything around me. I couldn't move. And all I saw was flashing lights. That was one scenario. On another scenario, I'm installing an AC, and I'm at the top of a building, and the walking space is like this. No joke, Bobby, like this, like literally like this.
Wow.
Meaning that if you turn too much, bro, you fall off the building. And I'm installing a condenser unit right there. And at the bottom, I can see all of the people. Like I can see people walking because I'm in the middle of the town. Business is going on. There's people going to work. There's people going to lunch and things like that. I can see people walking. And then I said to myself, like, where do I really want to be in life? Do I want to be like on these kinds of scenarios? Bro, I've been in scenarios where my team and I were carrying like air conditioned units that weigh like 5 tons to the top of a hotel that's like 3, 4, 5 stories, like literally by hand, because the elevator cannot take it. It's too expensive to get a crane. Walking up a set of stairs. So let me tell you something. A lot of people think this is hard work. This is a vacation compared to what I've done. I said to myself, like looking at the people beneath me, I said to myself, well, so this guy, there was a guy with I think it was an Audi or something. I'm like, he's not doing what I'm doing. Like there's a different life. There's a different life out there. There's a different situation where there are people making money, right? There are people who figured something out that I have not figured out. Okay, and they're living phenomenal lives.
Mhm.
Why not me? They're not smarter than me. They're not better than me. Why can't I do that? And the exact day that I decided to get into business was a Saturday afternoon. Okay,
Mhm.
I had just worked from like morning to like evening, not even like afternoon, like maybe like 8 to like 1. I remember going to the ATM to like withdraw money. I put in my card, I punch in the numbers, and the ATM spits out this little paper. Like,
Mhm.
what is this? Is this it's like I'm like, does this thing not have money or something? Bro, when I looked at my balance, basically I didn't have enough money in the ATM to withdraw money. And
Mm.
let me tell you something, on that day, now I was working hard as I'm working right now. On that day, Bobby, I said to myself, when I got back to the vehicle, I said to myself, that will never, ever, 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 ever happen to me again. And on that day, bro, I decided to get into business. So when you ask me why, the reason why I decided to get into business was because I wanted a life that was different. I didn't want to necessarily be the richest person, but I wanted a better quality of life for myself and for my family. And when I look out there, like what can get me that better quality of life, it's a no-brainer. It's business. All of the business people seem to be making money. They seem to be happy. They seem to be, and I'm saying seem, okay? I'm using the word seem
Yeah.
because when you don't know the life, you don't have the perspective, but you can only see what you see. Like you can only see with your eyes what you see, right? So on the outside, it seems as if They're the ones driving the nice vehicles. They're the ones that have the big homes. They're the ones that are doing the big things. They're the ones that are catching all the flights. I'm like, hold on. I need to get it. I need to get some of this. Let me get into business. Let me see what I can do. And then when I went home, I wrote down, okay, what can I do? Literally, blank sheet of paper. I'm at zero cash. What can I do? Okay, so I said, and Tony Robbins had this thing he used to say, in the absence of resources, you have to be resourceful. So I said, okay, let's be resourceful. I don't have money, but I have time. What can I spend my time doing that could help move me closer to where I want to be? And that's how I got into copywriting, to make the long story short, because I'd always been a phenomenal writer. I taught myself to write copy. Then I did work. I worked for free in the beginning. I learned my skill. I perfected my craft. And then I made my debut, so to speak, into the business world. And that's why I decided to get into business.
Wow. Wow. You know, Michelle put something in the chat. She said, in the absence of resources, we have to be resourceful. I 100% believe that. I'm just going to let that sit, Junior. I think we need to go to a break. Like, that was such a great, like, just moment, because when we come back, what I want you guys to do is I want you to think about when you started, why you started, and take Junior's story and just let it marinate. And then when we get back, I'll tell you guys why I got started, and then we'll connect the two. But I just don't want to follow that right now. You know, not that you can't follow something like that. That's a life story, and we all have one. So think about yours, and I'll be excited to dive into this when we get back.
I said Shaan Ride East. I'm proud. That's Shaan Ride East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes.
Man.
All right, guys. So we are back. Bobby, interesting start, right?
Yes. Whew. So my start was a little bit similar to Junior's, but with a different story. So Junior is hanging on the side of buildings, you know, like a modern day Spider-Man, right? Just making things happen. For me, it was gunshots and dirt and mud and just time away from your family and just a grind. Like anybody, like it's one thing to serve, you know, and we give a lot of respect to our service members, but if you know the life of a Marine, boy, we are something else. Like you got to be a little bit crazy just to join the Marines. You know, I have some family members that join the Army and they tell me about their good times. And I got some people that join the Air Force and they tell me about their good times. But all of my Marine buddies tell me like, yeah, it sucked, but we made the most of it, buddy. You know, we made the most of it. So that was my beginning. It was in the Marine Corps where I was constantly deployed. I was constantly living literally out of grunt role. And I was being put through some of the most grueling experiences, life and death experiences, so that if ever in that experience in real life, I would be able to eliminate the enemy and bring my people home. And you do that for years and years and years. And then you start looking at how much you're giving and how much you're getting. And that's kind of what happened for me. I'm looking, I'm like, I'm giving these guys blood, sweat, tears, years, my best years. I'm young. Like I'm giving all of this to the United States Marine Corps, to the military. And then I looked at my bank account and I'm earning the same amount as a barista, like I'm not making a lot of money. But granted, we have a lot of what are they called? Entitlements and stuff like that. We have a lot of
Books, right?
benefits. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the benefits, they do add to your quality of life. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at the cash, the cold hard cash going into your bank account, you're like, bro, I'm making as much as a barista. I'm not making real money. So when you realize that somebody at Starbucks shaking coffee is making as much as you putting your life on the line, pulling triggers where you could die in any day, you're like, okay, there's got to be a better way. I gotta find a way to do something that will require me to risk, but as much as I'm risking, however, get a reward that's much higher. So for me, it definitely was service oriented, but it was also money oriented. I was like, I want to make at least $100 million. Like I grew up poor, like dirt poor, no dad in the house. Teenage mom raised me. I had a brother and a sister on my mom's side, and then I had like four brothers and a sister on my dad's side. And it was just like we couldn't catch a break. I remember the repo man taking our car. Like we were literally going to school, putting the stuff in, and my mom was like, saw them turning the corner. She's like, hurry up, if we can pull out before they get here. The guy kind of like boxed us in with their car and then the truck, and they come in and they're like, get out the car, get out the car. It's like they're the police, man. So I remember that. I remember getting the car repoed. I remember my mom buying us Christmas gifts, but because like the lights or the water or like a bill didn't get paid, so it was like Christmas Day, I pulled out my telescope, and then the day after Christmas, they were boxing it back up. Hey, we got to take this to the pawn shop. And they put it in the pawn shop, and I was just like, man, I really wanted to play with that again, but I never could. So for me, I was like, I'm going to be rich, real rich, like big rich. And I got into military, and it was like by ultimatum because I didn't have, too many options. Growing up, I was a bright kid, but I was working while I was going to school. So high school. So because I was working while in high school and I was emancipated at the time, so I was homeless, working and going to high school. So scholarships were just not in the cards for me because I wasn't applying myself enough to the college side of the house and preparation and whatnot. So I found myself in the military, going through the military, and then remembering what it was like for me. And then getting ready to settle down, getting married, getting ready to have kids. And I was like, what's it going to be like for them if I don't turn this thing around? So then I started thinking about retirement. So I said, if I retire from the military, they'll pay me for the rest of my life. I was at like 10 years now. So I only had 10 years left. I was like, and then as you go up the ranks, it gets easier. I'll be honest with you. Like you start walking around with a coffee mug, telling people what to do. I was right there. Like I was at the point where all I was doing was going to meetings, but I wasn't there yet. Like I was a staff sergeant, so I was an E6, and the highest you can go is E9. So there was only 2 more ranks for me. I was an E6. I could go to E7, E8, E9. So there was 3 more ranks for me. Excuse me. So once you get to E7, though, it's like all downhill from there. And I would have been an E7 within the year. The reason that's significant is because you need to understand how much I threw away in order to take this direction. So I was at 10 years in the military. I had already achieved staff sergeant at E6. I had deployed twice. Life was good. Retirement was on the horizon. But I looked at the money and I said, if I retire from the military. I'll be 39. I'll be 39 when I retire, and I'll get paid for the rest of my life. That paycheck will look something like 6K, somewhere between 5 and 6K a month. So multiply that by 12, that's about 60K a year. 60K a year for the rest of my life, man, that's not going to get me to the millions. It's not going to get me anywhere close to the millions. So that's when I made the decision. So my decision was, what can I learn? What can I do? Who do I have to be in order to build $1 million empire, multi-million-dollar empire, and dare I say billion-dollar empire? Before I got out, I wrote down that I want to earn $1 billion. It's like I want to earn $1 billion before I die. Now, granted, I know that's a very lofty goal, but that was my goal. Mm-hmm. So with that, guys, we're going to take a transition now. And I hope everybody has been thinking about your why. Like, why did you start? Like, what was it about you getting into business? Because now we're about to deal with the technicalities. We're about to deal with the actual fundamentals of why branding, marketing, sales, speaking, coaching, like, what are these things? Why are they important? Are they necessary? If you don't have them, what is the alternative? Like, we're about to really talk about business, because that was my background. My background is entrepreneurship with a concentration in finance and economics. Junior knows everything there is to know about direct marketing, and he's learning every day. Sales is something that he's also very experienced on. And we're just going to bring our experiences to you guys today as we dive deeper into the business fundamentals, like what business really is, why people get started, and how you can actually be successful. But before we get started, Junior, did you want to read some of the comments?
Yeah, we can take a few comments. I noticed Dr. Michelle has many comments here, so I'll start right here. Just read a few of them quickly. So she says, I started with network marketing. By the way, I also did network marketing for a little while, Bobby.
Really?
maybe I'll tell a story one day. I've had a lot of experience, man. I did a little bit of Amway for a little while. One of my friends introduced me to it. I said, okay, let me just see what it's like. I didn't know. The first time I saw Amway, Bobby, was the first time I came to New York, which was back in 2008. Actually, I had an aunt that was selling like products and stuff like that. I didn't know nothing about business, or I just knew that they were selling products, and she used to get them from somewhere. I don't know where it was, but I remember the branding on it. It used to say Amway, and that's how a lot of them survived. So I did that for a little while, but it wasn't the path for me. So I decided that I didn't really like that business model. But she says, in business for yourself, but not by yourself. I knew a 9 to 5 in social work wouldn't afford me the lifestyle I wanted. And she also said, I started my own company because I realized network marketing was me climbing the ladder of success, and on a building that didn't have my name on it, which I agree. She also says, I wanted to make global impact while making sustainable income. Same here. And let's take two more. I worked for what? I worked 4 part-time jobs in college, only to steal 130K in student loans after accrued interest. Yeah, the math on those student loans is something else. Yesterday, I read that a guy said he paid $300,000 in student loans in total, and while he was doing that, he had to cockroach infested place for like $500 a month. It's crazy the stories you hear about these student loans. Amway was my first network marketing company too. LOL. Yeah, I think it's that way for many people. Many people. But yeah, Bobby, let's get into it. You're on mute.
Thanks, Junior. So what I want to talk about as we dive into this is simple assets. Now, we talked about assets yesterday, but we talked about more accounting assets. That is a little bit complicated. But today I just want to talk about simple assets. So you got soft assets, you've got intangible assets, and then you've got tangible assets. When you get into business and you try to build a business as an entrepreneur, what you're doing is you're attempting to build a system. that produces predictable results over time. That's it. That's it. Right?
Yep.
Now, the thing is, most individuals get caught up in what I talked about earlier, the bling in mind instead of the end in mind. So when we think about the bling in mind, we don't think about the soft assets and their responsibility. For example, a guy said, if I had the task of chopping down a tree and I only had 3 hours to do it, I'd spend 2 hours sharpening the axe and 1 hour chopping the tree. So this is an individual that knows they have to chop a tree down, and they know if they did so with a dull axe, they're going to be there forever. And they might not even get the tree down at all. So when you think about business the right way, soft assets, soft skills are one of the first things you need to have in order to chop the tree down. Mm-hmm. Again, if you want to build a business and you're trying to build a business without soft skills, you're in for a rude awakening. Now, why is that? Many of you all know about Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley was known as the hub spot for all innovative technology companies. The reason this was so prevalent for so many years, Bill Gates was out of Silicon Valley. You had PayPal out of Silicon Valley. And then you also had this other company. And I think Mark Zuckerberg then moved to Silicon Valley when they launched. So what's interesting about Silicon Valley is that there's a concentration of soft skills. It's the concentration of people that know how to do things. And because all of those people are concentrated in that one location and they have experience and skill sets, they're able to produce repeatable success in that industry. So here are a list of soft skills you need to have if your goal is to be a successful entrepreneur, in my experience. The ability to brand yourself and things. Branding. Just understanding branding is a skill set you need to have. It's a soft skill. Marketing is a soft skill. Closing, sales is a soft skill. Coaching is a soft skill. Why coaching if you're not a coach? Because coach is the language of leadership. Coaching is the language of leadership. So that's why coaching. So even if you're not coaching clients, if you're coaching a team or you're leading a team, you're going to have to coach them. In the Marine Corps, we have coaches. So coaching is a soft skill. Course creation. In today's society, you can pretty much buy anything as a course. Just about anything. I can't think of something that you can't buy as a course, as long as it's legal, like legalized. You can purchase just about anything. Knowing how to create courses and sell them is a soft skill that I would recommend every entrepreneur have, no matter what your industry is. And then you've got speaking. So with all of these soft skills, imagine trying to build a business if you can't sell. Imagine trying to build a business if you don't know how to market. Imagine trying to close deals or get in front of your ideal client if you have no idea how to speak to them. That's the reality of many entrepreneurs, though. It's like they're trying to build businesses without soft skills. And if you don't have soft skills, you're in a world of hurt. So why are we talking about this in business, in the world of business fundamentals? Because you have to invest money in order to build a business. And most people don't know how to invest money or the sequence in which to invest money. So I love that Junior always talks to us about systems and sequences, like the order in which you do things. The reason I started with soft skills is because that's one of the first investments you want to make. And you can be very strategic about this. My goal today, this morning, is to help you think about your balance sheet, because I know there's not a lot of people telling you about this stuff. There's not a lot of people online talking about, hey, this is how you construct a startup fund, like a startup balance sheet. So you've got balance sheets, you've got startup budgets, you have break-even analysis. Nobody's talking about this stuff. So what happens? People go out and they go buy these $50,000 programs, $100,000 programs, but they don't have the necessary soft skills. They hear everybody saying, invest in yourself, invest in yourself. What are they saying when they say that? What they're saying is acquire soft skills. The problem is most people don't know the order in which to acquire the soft skill in order for it to make sense. So they'll go out and they'll buy like a real estate class or something like that before they even know how to sell. So now they have all this knowledge about flipping houses, but they have no knowledge about acquiring capital. So what sense does this make? It's a very interesting space to be in. So as I turn it over to Junior to get some of his insights, the last thing that I'll share about soft skills is this. When you are investing in yourself, one of the best things you can do is invest in instruction and execute practice. So the idea of a soft skill is to get instruction, to learn. That's the first part of it, is learn how to do something that you don't know how to do. That is a soft skill that you can actually use. Once you learn how to do it, the next thing is to practice it to proficiency. So a lot of people go and they get courses, but they never become proficient in the course or the skill set that they acquired. And that leads to them not being able to get a return on the investment. All of this can be found on a balance sheet. And I can look at businesses like, and I'll stop here, but I'll just share this with you guys because it's so crazy. People will come to me when I was a CFO, back when I was doing chief financial officer work, and I would look at their balance sheet. And majority of their sunk costs, like 80% of their sunk costs, meaning investments that they made that did not return, were investments they made in themselves. Crazy. 80% of their investments. I can see it on the balance sheet. I'm like, where'd you spend all your money? And they were like, I bought this course, I bought that course, I bought this course, I went to that convention, I went to this convention. And then I said, show me the return on investment, the return on asset. Where did that return come back to the company? And they were like, well, I never finished the course. I never finished this. I bought that, but I never did this. And I can't find it on their balance sheet. Junior, take us away.
Bro, I'm trying to think of where to start this. I'll start it with this. Sort of following up from that story. Same story I told in the beginning. One of the things that I've always like, I'm a very I would say I have a childlike curiosity when it comes to business. Like, just a little background on me. As a child, I had this little red book as a child. And Bobby, I could remember the first time. I'll give you some context. Like, bro, I used to like study all kinds of stuff. I studied astrology as a child. I studied science, a lot of sciences, I did my first electrical circuit when I was a little boy. I remember sitting on the floor, pulling out wires, connecting bulbs and making it light and building flashlights and all kinds of stuff like that. I built my first flashlight during a hurricane with cardboard, a few batteries, old wires that I found somewhere, and a few other things. Now, I've carried that curiosity with me into business. And something I've always wondered, and I'm sure, like in the process, like when you're transforming from that sort of like that employee mindset into a business owner mindset, one of the things I've always wondered is like, why are the people that seem to be doing the hardest jobs making the least amount of money? Isn't that crazy? It's like the guy that's doing all the manual work, like he appears to be doing all the work, and then he doesn't make the money. There's always some CEO who doesn't appear to be doing anything, somewhere in the office chilling, right? And then they seem to be making all the money. But then a couple of years ago, I started to realize like why do soft skills matter? And just pay attention there for a little while, everybody. I've come to the conclusion that the reason why soft skills really and truly matter is because you like it's more scalable. Your impact is more scalable. Okay. So for example, if I know how to, let's just say this is a systematic approach. Let's say I know how to, let's just say, sell one on one. I can only sell one on one. Okay. But if I know how to sell from the stage, that's scalable. I can sell to more people. The more people you can impact, the more money you can make. And hard skills have a limitation, meaning that they're not always scalable. Like I can't put up 100 ACs for 100 people, but I can teach 100 people how to install one AC. So the coaching is more scalable, it's more impactful, and that's why soft skills make more money. Now, if you're a CEO, right, which everybody is, if you're running a business, you have to understand that what you're looking for or what you have to really and truly master is resource allocation. Is that correct, Bobby?
I would.
CEOs are all about allocating resources. So in other words, I mean both money and also human capital, meaning people. So you have to know how to put people in the right places. You also have to know how to spend money so that the money comes back, like Bobby was saying. Now, so with soft skills like, for example, branding, marketing, sales, but not only that. And one of my mentors said this, and that's when it really, really got me. He said, if you learn sales, you get rich. But if you learn sales and leadership, then you'll get wealthy. Because leadership is a meta skill that allows you to scale sales. If I can sell, but I don't know how to teach Bobby to sell, that's limited. If I can sell, but I can also become a sales leader where I can teach others to sell, then I become wealthy. Now, that's not a hard skill, that's a soft skill, but it's more impactful. And what I'm starting to realize is that the higher you go up the hierarchy when it comes to business, the more soft skills you need. So you need to know about branding, you need to know about marketing, you need to know about coaching, because coaching allows you to influence, it allows you to impact on a large level, being able to speak. Isn't it crazy how speakers can jump on stage and get like 50K? Has anybody ever wondered that? Like, why would you pay a speaker to talk? It looks like they're just talking, and then they're getting paid 30K, 50K. That used to confuse me a little bit, but I realized when you speak, you can impact more than one person. You have greater scalability with that skill. You have greater impact, and thus you could make more money because technically you are adding value to more people. So, in other words, the more people you can impact, the more money you can make. And the number of people that you can impact is in direct proportion to the number of soft skills that you have, particularly branding, because brands live forever if you do it right. Okay, particularly marketing. Marketing is one to infinite. So in copy, Bobby, when I learned copy, we used to say that sales is one to one, like selling one to one. Copy, writing is one to infinity. And let me tell you why. Because there have been sales letters that were written back in 1990 something, like 20 or 30 years ago, that are still making money today.
Yeah.
Can you imagine writing a letter, chilling in your balcony, writing a sales letter, writing a message 20 years ago, and then you go to the mailbox, you get a check for something that you did 30 years ago?
Yeah. It's amazing.
That's happening. That's mastery. That's one to infinity because that message lives on literally forever.
Yeah.
Bro, that's why soft skills matter. But Bobby, what I've seen, like to me, one of the most important ones, and I'll hand it over to you, is leadership. If you can sell, but you don't know how to lead, you're going to have a tough time because you can only make 100 calls per day. I've never seen somebody make more than 200 calls per day. I've not seen it. If you have, Bobby, let me know. Let me know where I can find them.
Yeah.
There's only a certain number of calls you can make per day. You can only make 150 before you get tired, like 150, 200 if you really push. But it's not sustainable for like a year. You can't do 200 calls a day for a year. That doesn't like that. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna burn yourself out. You're gonna, lose the vigor, the passion, etc. But if you can make 100 calls and then show Dr. Michelle how to make 100, and then show Tia how to make 100, and then show this one and that one, if you combine the skill of sales with leadership, then that's how you scale your impact. So for me, one of the most important skills on top of marketing, on top of branding, negotiation, coaching, sales is definitely leadership.
Right. Right. And the interesting thing about soft skills is you never stop acquiring them, and you never stop improving them. So that's another thing that I think makes entrepreneurship interesting, because it's not like, oh, I got this now. It's like, oh, I got this now, and I got to keep sharpening this year in and year out. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about today is intangible assets. So soft skills are soft assets. Okay, so when you're building a business, your business is all about assets. So yesterday we talked about the accounting equation. So the accounting equation, again, for those that were not present, is assets equal liabilities plus equity. We're not going to go into that today, but you guys can definitely check that out. Now, intangible assets are assets like your social media page. Can't touch it, but it actually, generates money for you. Websites, logos, copyrights, brands, all of those things are intangible assets. And a business fundamental is understanding how to manage intangible assets. That's another thing that I see a lot of entrepreneurs struggle to do in the early days, and it's why I see so many of them fail financially. And it's because they don't know how to value their assets. So I remember someone saying, I'm going to go get a website. And I said, how much you going to, get this website for? They said, I'm going to go get this website for like $2,500. I said, what? $2,500? Now, the reason I gave this response is because I've spent money on websites. I've had novice websites and I've had some very nice websites. Spent multiple 5 figures for websites and only 4 figures. So when they said to me $1,500 or $2,500, I said, what? What are you getting for $1,500 or $2,500? And then they pretty much listed out a bunch of things that sounded good but didn't mean anything. They said, I'm going to get a phenomenal color scheme put together. I'm going to get some great pictures phenomenally put together. They're going to have all the links to all of my places, and it's going to be just exactly what I'm looking for. They didn't say anything about having a sales button at the top of the fold. Like, they said nothing about having any calls to action. They said nothing about the copy. They said nothing about the readability. They said nothing about the ideal client profile. They didn't say anything about any of those things. So why do I share that? Is one, that's a soft skill. Marketing is a soft skill. Copywriting is a soft skill. Branding is a soft skill. So if they didn't have those soft skills, then when it was time to build the intangible asset, they didn't know what to do. So what they ended up doing was they got the website and they didn't know how to value it. So they spent, let's say, $1,500 on the website, but they didn't make $1,500 back. And then I had another case where they spent $50,000 on a website and they got all the bells and whistles, but they still didn't have the soft skills. So they had this phenomenal website that they didn't know how to leverage. It was like having a Lamborghini, but not knowing how to drive stick. Like, they didn't have the soft skills to drive the stick, but they had this car that could do like 200 miles an hour. And intangible assets are just like that. Those are the assets that often come with learning curves. And the learning curve is around your ability to apply it effectively. And I'm giving you guys a lot this morning, but I just want to bring this home for you. So when you're building your business, these are business fundamentals to really help you take the marketing and the branding and the sales, all the stuff we teach here. Like, why do we teach it? Like, why does it matter? Is it really important? Yes. So when you are thinking about intangible assets such as social media, websites, logos, brand equity, copyrights, such as books and all these different things, what you're really saying to yourself, if you're trying to think about a business, like if you're trying to think about making money, here's what you're saying to yourself. You're saying there's a learning curve and I have learned something. So you know one thing, but you don't know everything. And what you don't know is what creates the learning curve. Okay. What you're also saying at this point is cash is what's going to sustain me as I go over the learning curve. So the reason most people go broke and the reason they get into business and they don't make it is because they don't account for the learning curve. They take the knowledge that they have and they believe that all the knowledge that they have is all the knowledge that they need. And then when they are hit with roadblocks and they experience things that they did not account for, they don't have the capital or the cash or the soft skills to sustain themselves through the learning curve. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect is effective application. They have the skill set and they may even be proficient in it, but they're not effective with it. And that's the second piece of it. So let's say I know how to brand myself. Like I'm proficient in branding. Like I understand the concepts, the ins and the outs, like many people do. But if you learn this stuff and you become proficient in this stuff, but you're not effective in it, then you don't get results. Because it is the effective application of the information that you have mastered that produces the results. So intangible assets is one of the other big downsides that I see for business owners that are entrepreneurs just trying to figure it out. And the last thing before I turn it back over to Junior and we kind of maybe go to that last break, we got about 5 minutes left. But the last thing that I will say is understanding the role of tangible assets. So tangible assets normally have 3 roles: quality, scope, and capacity. So a tangible asset would be like a laptop or a iPhone, a nice camera, studio lights, or your ring light, the clothes, your wardrobe, my tie, my blazer, watches, things that we wear, cars. All of those things are tangible. And tangible assets are very easy to quantify on the balance sheet. The problem with tangible assets is that people don't know how to leverage them. And the 3 leverage points of tangible assets are quality, scope, and capacity. So if I buy a laptop and it's, let's say, a HP is not a bad laptop, but it's not necessarily a Mac. Now, let's say I bought a MacBook in order to do video editing. The tangible asset of a laptop is one thing, but the leverage that I get from the laptop that I buy is completely different. So I can get a much better quality, a higher grade quality out of a MacBook than I may be able to get out of an HP. So that means the quality of my production is increased. And if the quality is increased, then there's the leverage for my pricing. Also, scope. If I've got a very powerful computer, then I can do a lot more things than I could do if I don't have such a powerful computer. So that's where scope comes in, the scope of work that I can do, the degrees of work that I can do, and then capacity. So if I have more assets, let's say I've got more laptops instead of just 5, let's say I have 1 laptop, then my capacity to produce is whatever I can produce with 1 laptop. Let's say I had 3 laptops and 3 people to operate those laptops. Then I've got 3 times the capacity. And if I'm using that capacity within synergy, then I may even have economies of scale, which we won't get into, but that means I'm getting even more than your simple 3 times or 3x. But that is what I wanted to cover, Junior, is, just to break down soft skills, soft skills as soft assets, intangible assets in their role, and then intangible assets in their role, because those are business fundamentals. And without them, it's very hard to be successful in business.
Listen, Bobby, I agree with that 100%. I like the fact that you said soft skills are soft assets. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, guys, when you gave the story of the gentleman who said that they invested in all the courses and stuff like that, I just want to remind everybody that stuff you buy only works if you work. Okay? The stuff you buy only works if you do. All right? And also, I think we should have a conversation around value. Obviously, not today. Maybe we'll cover it tomorrow. And the reason I say that is because it all boils down to value. At the end of the day, everything Bobby's talking about all relates to value. Like, can you produce more value? So why can you charge more for production that's done on a Mac as opposed to done on, something else? It's because it's more valuable. There's more utility. But value has so many aspects of it. It's not only utility, there's also quality, there's also durability. There's so many aspects of it that it's worth diving into. It's something that I find absolutely fascinating because I'll give you an example. Tia, so let's say Tia and Bradley. Tia and Bradley can join the same program. Bradley can get more value from the program than Tia. Why is that? Why is it that Bradley can get more value than Tia if they're in the same program, the same teacher, same class, same lessons? It depends on how Bradley utilizes the information in his business. Value creation. How can you create value? Value is created out of thin air, which technically means you could make money out of thin air because all money is a store of value. And you know what Musk said that money is just a tool for resource allocation.
100%.
That's all it is. But if you don't understand value, you don't know what to do with it because check this out. I can spend, and that's why people are afraid to spend money too. Because it's like I can spend, let's say, 5K on a program, but if I go in with the right mindset, I could pull out 50K worth of value from the 5K that I invest. But if I go in with the wrong mindset, I could not literally get nothing from the program. If I go in with the wrong mindset, if I don't understand value, if any program that I join, Bobby, there's always a positive return on investment because I understand value. There's always and that value or that return on investment multiplies. I'll give you an example. I've invested in so many sales programs. I've done sales training with everybody you can think of. Cardone, Brian Tracy, Wolf of Wall Street, you name it, I've done it. Dan Locke, you name it, I've done it. So now that I've learned all of these things, I've been able to apply these things. The value that I've gained from these programs, right? Closing like a leader, all of these things, I can replicate and duplicate that value literally forever for the rest of my life. Does that make sense? Now, I've not launched like a sales program. We have closing like a leader, but if I were to do that, that's me multiplying the value that I got from these programs. So I think understanding value and how to leverage value is worth having a conversation. But that's for another show, guys. We're at the top of the hour. It's already 9 a.m. So, Bobby, thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. I've taken so many notes. I hope you guys took a lot of notes as well. You always need your pen and paper when you come to Breakfast with the Brand. We will be on tomorrow at 8 a.m. So that's Saturday. Yes, we are on Saturdays as well. Same place, same time. Check this profile wherever you're viewing it from, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, etc., YouTube. So tomorrow at 8 a.m., maybe we'll dive into that value conversation, Bobby, and just keep it going. And most importantly, we're going to show you how branding plays into that value, because branding is one of those things, Bobby. When you build a brand, let's say you invest $100,000, $200,000, you build a brand. Bro, a brand could make you billions of dollars. That's why we say billion-dollar brand. We're going to get into branding and how branding directly plays into value and how you can begin taking the first steps towards building your brand and increasing the value of your business. I told somebody the other day, you could buy something for $2,000 or you could buy something for $5,000. It could be the same thing. The difference will be the branding. Quality might be the same. The difference is the branding, but you've created value, real value, because the end user experiences the value. We're going to get into that. So have a phenomenal day, guys. Thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. This has been Breakfast with the Brand. Let's grow.
Let's grow.